This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
An all-new season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Mom Talk has just been blowing up.
Whitney and Jen are on Dancing with the Stars.
Taylor is a bachelorette.
Saying that out loud is crazy. Like, that is huge.
But all the cool opportunities could pull us apart.
It's causing issues in everyone's marriage.
My whole world is falling apart right now. It's chaos.
Watch the Hulu original series, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+ for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday afternoon via Zencaster, making his triumphant return, is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, we once again thank our friend Jenny Berman for stepping off a plane from Singapore and stepping in for you last week. She did an amazing job, but it's great to have you back. We have a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. Still some trade deadline fallout. 3 incredibly wild games that the Islanders played. And yet there's somehow still been no movement in where they are in the standings in the Eastern Conference. Everybody is still kind of locked in this same race. And we are constantly scoreboard watching, getting no help from any other teams in the NHL. We'll get into that a little bit later. How are you feeling about the Islanders after a week or so in Miami Beach and a pretty eventful last couple of weeks?
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing too, right? Like the no movement. I'm sure Emily's sick of hearing it, and like I'm sick of saying it. Like, oh, this is a huge game for the Islanders. Like I need to watch this one and pay attention and sit on the edge of my seat because they're playing the Flames, and if they lose this one, they're in a lot of trouble. And have her tell me like, well, you said that about basically every game the last 8 weeks. So
right,
and then if they do get into the playoffs 15 games from now, those are like that too. So here we are thinking that it was going to be a different season compared to the 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25 Islanders. And it has been, but it's another 82 game playoff, and this has been it's been a different version of an 82 game playoff. It almost feels unavoidable that it was going to end up like this. Even a couple weeks ago and months ago, we were kind of talking about this. Like the Islanders needed to, as ahead of schedule, quote unquote, as they are in this new era, that they were in it. They have a chance to do something this season. And we were just saying like that the prerequisite is that you actually get into the playoffs. And that's why we were concerned that they were going to squander in this opportunity by not getting in. And you're going to watch, that a couple of years ago, like when the Panthers were like the 8th seed and they went to the Stanley Cup final, right? And you just sit there and you're like, that could have been us, right? If the chips fell. And the thing with the Blues a few years ago, and they're just every once in a while a team just does it, right? They go on a run, they catch lightning in a bottle and go on a run, and you just wonder, man, were we good enough if we landed in that spot to make that happen? And I think the Islanders are, and think it's because of the goalie and Matt Schaefer and the really good players, Barzal and Horvat, that they're good enough to catch lightning in a bottle in a playoff series or two. But I don't know if they're good enough to get into the playoffs to make that possible. And it's not for lack of trying. Like you can't really fault them for going 2-1 or what are they, 7-3 in their last 10. And yet, as you said, like there's just no movement, and that's been infuriating to watch because you just they nobody would. I don't think anyone would argue that the Islanders are playing like particularly well right now, but they are getting results, and you just wonder if they stop getting a couple bounces, or they stop winning every game in overtime, or Sorokin has a dud or whatever. If it snowballs and they find themselves on the wrong part of the cut line. So yeah, it's a different 82 game playoff, but it's the same. It is an 82 game playoff once again. And we always bring it up. I think about Matt Barzal a couple years ago being like, I'm sick and tired of needing to wait till game 81 or game 82 to clinch the playoff. And as I said, this time it's not really their fault as much. I mean, I think there's a little bit of it that is, but they're playing at 100-point pace. So it's not like they're not like they're a couple years ago when they were playing at like a 92-point pace or 88-point pace for most of the season. But at the same time, it's just we've been able to catch our breath like twice this season.
Yeah.
And you think a 7-3 stretch over at this junction of the season would allow you to do it again, but just not how it's shaken out with us.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Matt Barzal continues to play for the wrong team if he wants something other than what he's getting here, because this has become the norm for the Islanders. And again, we'll get into it a little bit towards the end of the second half, where how this race is shaping up between the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, the Penguins. Now the Senators are involved, and the Islanders will play them this week. The Red Wings seem to be struggling as well. The Bruins have been basically in 8th place all season long in the final wild card spot. But if you're a Maple Leafs talking head, that's the goal you should be striving for, apparently. We'll get into the Leafs this week. We actually have a reason to talk about the Leafs this week. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And the Islanders, really on paper are playing pretty well. Like you said, they're on a 100-point pace. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Like, they've won 3 out of 4 games since coming back from the break. Like, they're doing really well, but it's how these games have shaken out. It's how the roster has been constructed now past the trade deadline. It's coaching decisions. It's, some individual performances that really make you wonder, where is this going? And how is this going to shake out? And it's going to be a wild, what do they have? I think 15 games left. They've played 67.
15,
so yeah, something like that. So, and most of those are at home too. So, which is another problem, but we'll get into that. Before we dive into this and many other topics, reminder that we are on Patreon, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Membership gets you ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, chats with us, and a whole lot more. You can join for free to get our weekly release calendar, or you can try a 7-day free trial of our Country Club tier as well. Any way you can, sign up at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Okay, let's talk about the games, starting with Tuesday's overtime win over the St. Louis Blues, or as I'm sure, and everybody else saw it, the Braden Shen versus Jonathan Drouin Bowl. It started out with a lot of buzz, and then before you know it, it was 3-0 St. Louis. Like, the Islanders had a ton of shots, 17-5, but they had a bunch of defensive breakdowns. I mean, it was only 1-0 at that point, but in the second, it was the same. It was even more the same. It was just defensive breakdowns, tons of shots by the Islanders, but it's 3-0 St. Louis. It's almost 4-0 when Robert Thomas taps in a goal, but it was deemed offsides. At that point, Sorokin was almost pulled. David Riddick kind of waved him off, which was a weird situation, a very Riddick-like situation. But then Matthew Schaefer's shot rebound goes to John Gabriel Pajot, makes it 3-1. And you're like, okay, there's some life here. This was incredibly embarrassing, but they're only down 3-1 going into the third. They get a double minor power play because Cal Ritchie was high stick, sort of. Somehow the worst power play in the league scores twice on the same 4-minute power play. Blues Jack Finley, son of former Islander Jeff Finley, as we found out, knocks the puck in. So a little bit of luck there. Ritchie gets credited for it, makes it 3-2. But then Bo Horvat scores a classic power play goal, also from Ritchie, who was great in this whole game. Ties the game at 3. We get another classic Butch Goring-ism. Horvat finds a hole, which sounds like the strangest Dr. Seuss book ever written. Pretty loose for the rest of the third period. Schaefer had a couple of chances late. They go to overtime. Braden Shen has a cool chance. He makes a toe drag, doesn't get a goal. But then Barzal cuts back into the slot past Jordan Kyrou, the guy the Islanders were rumored to be trying to get all season long. Wrists it in. Beautiful shot. Makes it 4-3 Islanders. That, of course, is your Vanda Pharmaceuticals shot of the game. Shot of the week, excuse me. Get your family vaccinated today. And And what looked like a disaster ends up being 2 huge points. Sorokin made 20 saves. It was great late, maybe not so great early. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Joel Hofer almost stole it, made 45 saves. And despite the fact that the Islanders outshot the Blues 49-23, a couple of things go into their net, and all of a sudden it looks like they're cooked. And then this team, as a certain coach likes to say, I like their resiliency. And this was a perfect example of that. So the Islanders are 10-0 in overtimes this year. A lot of those were of the sort of, you're pissed off 1 minute and then you're elated the next minute when the game is over. So it's cool, but it's been a bit of a wild ride. Did you get to watch this game? Were you back in time to watch this game?
Yeah. I was back on Monday afternoon, and not only was this game incredibly frustrating, but at the same time as this game, you think, okay, like the Islanders have one of the worst teams in the league, team that just sold off their captain, and we've got that captain on our team coming back to the building. Should be an emotional game. Meanwhile, the Penguins are playing the Hurricanes, the Blue Jackets are playing the Lightning. The Islanders are in a prime position here to earn a little bit of breathing room. And instead, they decide to have, as you said, like they were peppering Hofer. I get, and I know that he's turning into a little bit of a bogeyman for the Islanders. He was a guy who had that shutout loss for the Islanders,
right?
Against,
the 1-0,
the 1-0 against Sorokin last year. And while this is happening, the Islanders are falling down 3-0. The Blue Jackets are running the Lightning out of the building. The Penguins were up 2-0 against the Hurricanes, and they fell behind 4-2 and then tied it up with like a minute and a half left in that game. So everything felt like it was on thin ice, and that's how this season has felt for a while. It's like there's so much promise if you could just get across this, the sheet of ice, this pond, this frozen pond or whatever in this analogy, but the ice is thin and it feels like it's cracking and you're just trying to avoid it. And those defensive breakdowns against this team it was tough to watch. And it felt like the Islanders were like resigned to, all right, like there's nothing we can do. We're just going to hope that, Schaefer, Barzell, and Horvat can rescue this one. And it worked again, but that is a precarious way to play when you're in a playoff race. Like you can't keep doing this. And I get like the resiliency is great. It's exciting when they win. But then after like the adrenaline rush of the win, you start getting kind of ticked off. You're like not even happy after a win. And that's what this team will do to you, which is that you only get so many Islander wins a year. And they're supposed to send you to bed happy. But there's been so many over the years that you're like, why would they even do that? Like, why do they have to just put me through that 2.5 hours? Why did I sign up for this? That not even the wins are making me happy in this playoff race, right? And but yeah, eventually, like you shake that off. Sorokin, I thought was so good for the after the Riddick when he shook off the fastball, which was great. But and Tuukka Rask all of a sudden was on the TNT panel. Didn't know that was a thing.
That was weird.
When I didn't watch any of the intermissions, but when the game ended and it went to the panel, and I saw Liam McHugh, and I was like, wow, that guy, whoever that other guy is, looks just like Tuukka Rask, but it can't be Tuukka Rask because he's Finnish. And I remember Tuukka Rask having kind of a peculiar voice, and lo and behold, it was. And he said like the sign of an elite goalie is exactly what I was thinking. Like it was a guy who had to battle. And Sorokin battled them into that game, and I think deserves a ton of credit for that win, getting them those 2 points, because he was so good down the stretch. And yeah, just I was very happy to have Butchie in the booth once again. Like I just really hope that he gets more and more time down the stretch here, because it's so much more fun to have a wild card like him in the booth, and he's also the one who's gonna lose his cool if the Islanders blow a game like they were. And it felt like that. And so and that game was on TNT, right? So it was Butch. Yes. It was Butch, Brendan, and Pang.
Brendan.
And Darren Pang, right? Like, I mean, come on. Does it get better than that?
I love that crew, and I love that the national audience got a small taste of what an Islanders broadcast is like. And I imagine that they were either like, who are these two guys? Like, I mean, they know Brendan,
Yeah.
obviously, but who is this other guy? But Islanders fans were like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, this is like watching
exactly.
an MSG broadcast.
And it was great to have Darren Pang in there too, because
I love Pang.
he's got like, he's a little more polished than Butchie, I would say, but he's got the that kind of je ne sais quoi that we love in a color commentator. And that was a very enjoyable like broadcast, and a completely unenjoyable game to watch until the very end of it, just because of the way they were playing. And former future Islander Jordan Kyrou getting undressed by Matt Barzal at the end there was kind of a funny like exclamation point. The Jonathan Drouin against Braden Shen, like they kept finding each other, which was really weird. I don't like the whole thing felt really strange. Like there was that big poster of Braden Shen on the outside of the building still that they kept showing.
I mean, Drouin wearing 92 while Shen wears 10, and now Simon Holmstrom wears 92.
There's so much weird stuff.
The video that the Blues played for Shen, they only showed like his sort of reaction, but you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. The Blues website had it. It was very well done. You know, when you could see he was pretty emotional about it. He didn't have a great game, but you can kind of see why.
Yeah, right.
It's very strange, you know.
Yeah, he's just. I just don't know if he's found his like kind of like what he's supposed to be doing for this team yet. Because I think he's there's been a lot of talk. I don't know if you've caught this, but a certain Ratko Gudas is there's wanted posters of him all over Canada and people are very upset that he only got suspended for 5 games for hitting Austin Matthews and ending his season. And like there's all this talk because the Leafs, who we'll get into at the end, like they didn't jump in after like whatever, and people kept saying like, you know, if you touch Matthew Schaefer on the Islanders, there's like this rabid pack of dogs, which is true. And I'm very happy that the Islanders have a culture like that. And it's taken a long time for the Islanders to develop something like that. For most of my life, it was sort of there, but you couldn't like, you didn't feel like you could rely on it. Now you can, and it's been like that for years. And I think Brady Shen has bought into that, right? Like he's like, well, I know what I'm supposed to do in terms of providing, you know, backup and support and loyalty and showing that kind of stuff. But I just don't know if he's found his like actual hockey playing role just yet. He had a nice pass to Holmstrom in 10-92 in the latest game, but and this game felt like that. It felt like he was kind of just like confused, and as you said, totally understandable. I get it, but I think this is kind of part of what's making me a little nervous about this whole thing moving forward. Is, you know, if you threw 10 Shen on Casey Cizikas and then threw 81 Palat on Shen and then put 53 Cizikas on Palat and like just had them all play the game in each other's jerseys and just switched them, I don't think you'd be able to really tell much of a difference between them, right? And I think the same thing is true with number 4 and number 24, and to some extent like number 6, and then you could do the same thing with 49 and 11 and you know you get like you get what I'm saying. Like it's just it feels like a lot of guys are doing a lot of the same shit, and this game felt like that. And but there are some guys who are inimitable, right? They're that's Matt Barzal, that's Bo Horvat, and that's Matthew Schaefer, and Ilya Sorokin and Adam Pelech, and those guys. And Callum Ritchie had a great game, as you said, stepped up. They won them this game. The Islanders live to fight another day. They survive in advance. And but you're kidding yourself if you went to bed that night thinking, wow, like that's a good sign, because
like, no, it was great ending, but
you know what it really reminded me of a lot. Like if just picture the Rangers are playing the Blues in a pivotal game, the Rangers go down 3-0, and then the Rangers get a double minor. You're like, oh, well, I've seen this movie a million times. The Rangers score both goals. There's Panarin, there's Zibanejad, a shot off Chris Kreider's ass, and the Rangers win. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the most Rangers win ever. And I think the Islanders win over the Blues was as like early 2020s Rangers as win as you could dial up. Like I could have sworn I saw like Marian Gaborik and Rick Nash out there for the Islanders. it really felt like a prototypical to the script Rangers win.
Yeah, maybe that's why it was so annoying. Right. It did feel like the Rangers
I've seen this one before, and it's never made me happy.
Yeah. But I'm glad you mentioned Schenn because and we're going to talk about him again throughout this episode. But yeah, I think I was thinking about this last night. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but I feel like he has found his role in the locker room and off the ice faster than he found it in the locker room. Because last night, and obviously we're going to get to the Calgary game, but like he's like talking to guys and like where to go and like, okay, when I win this, like most people wouldn't do that, after being with a team for 4 games. Obviously, we've already heard like the story apparently when he was in the San Jose game, when he was like going down the Sharks bench, being like, anybody touches Schaefer, you're gonna have to deal with me, or you're gonna be in big trouble, or whatever it is. So like normally the new guy doesn't do that kind of stuff, and he just tries to simplify his game and do what I know how to do. But here it's more like I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do out there on the ice, but I know what I am here. I know who I am as a person and as a player, and I think he fits right in that sense. We heard on the we heard on the Sportsnet broadcast last night, and again, you could see this on Sportsnet's website, that apparently Matthew Schaefer was the one driving Schenn to the rent-a-car place to like rent a car while he's on the island, which is like, again, not something that 18-year-old kid normally does for a 34-year-old veteran, but I think they've made Schenn feel very comfortable in the locker room.
Yeah. He's got his kids. He's got ice, 3 kids, right?
3 kids, yeah.
I think that puts the count. I did it quickly just right before we started recording in my head. I think that's 27 now. 27 kids on this team. If you don't include Schaefer, who would be 28. Yeah. But
right, that's
a lot.
Damn. That's a lot of kids. So yeah, I said that last week with Jenny. Like that's the number one thing with Schenn. He fits right in because he's got the requisite number of kids already. So anyway, but yeah, again, I can't say it enough. Almost a complete disaster, but they needed those 2 points. They got them. If anybody watching at home that's not an Islanders fan thought, oh wow, these guys are really good, look at that power play come to life, guys, that's not how this this generally goes. But thank you, Jack Finley, for helping the Islanders get back. And maybe that's his old dad was trying to like send him some telepathic communication there. So we'll see. So anyway, that was the end of the Islanders 4-game road trip, which is the second to last road trip of the season. They come back home. They have an extra day off. They don't play again until Friday. And they are facing the LA Kings, who are waiting for them, of course. The Kings have their own playoff problems. They're outside the line. They made this big trade for Artemi Panarin. And, before the game, I was thinking about these 2 rosters, and I'm like, man, these teams are very, very similar. Like, they have similar makeups. They're similar old guy. I mean, who are the Kings' best players? Andrei Kopitar. We'll get back to him in a few minutes. Drew Doughty, Panarin, like Darcy Kemper. Like, these guys are not young. They've been around a long time. And then the depth guys, they have a Kempe here or a Byfield or a who's the other guy? Brent Clark there. But like, there's just a bunch of guys, and the Islanders almost kind of feel a little bit of the same. And but somehow the Kings just, in the West, which has just been a big mess, especially the Pacific, they just can't get any traction. They just can't get over the line. And I was instantly worried about this because, again, they were waiting. You sent me a stat that the Islanders almost never beat the Kings, which is really shocking and terrible. And I hate that. And the game starts, and 2 seconds in, Braden Schenn takes a penalty. He takes a tripping penalty, right? 2 seconds into his first game at UBS Arena. It ends up being 3-0 LA after the first period. Trevor Moore goes all the way down and scores. Kopitar gets behind Cizikas, makes a tap in 2-0, and then Panarin steals Kempe in front, deflects it past Schenn, 3-0. Like, and I saw a lot of people that were like, and I saw this with the Blues game too. Oh, they didn't start on time. Oh, they weren't ready for the opening. They didn't come out with good energy. In both of these games, and in the Calgary game too, energy was not the problem. Jump was not the problem. They started the game on time. What they didn't have, and what they haven't had all season, to my eye anyway, has been a game plan, structure, strategy. They didn't seem to understand what the other team was going to do and what their tendencies were. And so when things got broken down, all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And like they got a ton of shots. They had everything going their way. They had all the energy going their way. And yet, one breakdown happens and it's in the back of their net. Like, did nobody tell these guys like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, the Kings are pretty aggressive in their own zone. They look for blocks. And if they get one, they might start a quick breakout. And you got to be careful of that kind of stuff. Because that's exactly what happened in this game. Did nobody tell them like, hey, the Blues love that backdoor play. So don't send 4 people into the corner for one guy. keep an eye on guys like Snuggerud and Thomas because they like to kind of sneak in towards the backside. So apparently nobody did, because in both cases they went down 3-0. And this comeback in St. Louis was great, but there was no such comeback in LA. They ended up losing 3-2. Heineman scored both goals in this game. Two great tips, one from Pelech in the second period and then one from Schaefer in the third. The Islanders poured it on in the third. They had a double minor with 3 seconds to go, and Schaefer actually did get a shot off, but it just wasn't enough. Sorokin was good in this game, despite giving up 3 goals. He had breakaway stops on Panarin and on Kempe. He stopped Jared Wright on the doorstop in the third. But it was a huge missed opportunity, because to what your point in the Blues game, those teams all came back and won that night. But this game was played on Friday. On Thursday, Penguins lost. I believe the Bruins lost, the Red Wings lost, and the Blue Jackets lost in overtime. So everybody around the Islanders lost points, lost ground, lost games played. And a win here against the Kings would have set the Islanders up very nicely for their game against Calgary the next night. But in true Islanders style, they just sort of let that opportunity pass. And really the game was kind of over before it started. And sometimes the comeback just doesn't happen. You can't count on it all the time. And this was a perfect example of that. And, they had, again, all the jump, all the energy, all the shots they needed, but they just didn't have a game plan that was going to, neutralize the Kings and stop that from happening. And it's just unfortunate that one period into this huge homestand, it's like, well, that's that. And like, I said this on Blue Sky, like, I didn't want to be, after I've learned my lesson after 10 overtime wins, most of whom were comebacks. I didn't want to be like, start ranting and raving, because I've done that before and then they come back and win. So I didn't do that against the Kings. And then of course that's the game they lose. Right. So frustrating for many, many reasons. The game itself was one thing, but the fact that all those teams lost the night before made this one really, really stink.
Yeah. And like, it's a Friday night at home. And how many times have the Islanders done this season? It's got to be half dozen, where it's, they have the opportunity to, I'm not saying get into like a cozy spot or anything, but to put pressure on the Penguins and Blue Jackets and Bruins and Red Wings and Canadiens, and put pressure on their serve. There's nobody else playing that night in the Eastern Conference besides you. Just win the game. Those teams are all keeping an eye on it. Their fans bases are all keeping an eye on it. And what do they see? They open up the NHL app, 3-0 Kings, 8 minutes in or whatever the hell it was. And you're like, of course, like this is what this team does. And it's the first game back after a road trip. So the built-in excuse is there for the Islanders. And as we were talking about with all those kids, I think the Islanders are much more susceptible to those kind of rhythms because you land at MacArthur, get the team charter bus back to where, Eisenhower Park, and then you drive the 10 minutes to your pad in Garden City or Oyster Bay or Manhasset, and who's waiting for you but your kids, and how it's hard not to be just like, oh, I'm so happy to see you and all that, and just turn into family mode. And then a couple of days later you got a game against the Kings, and it's a huge one, and first game back after a road trip, bug bites you again. I can't say for sure if this is true, but I think the Islanders are like 0-6 in this spot this season. It feels like it. And they've had a couple, they had the dud against Buffalo or St. Louis after that long, great road trip early in the year. Then they came back, and I can't remember who they lost to after the other one, or if they did. But in my head, they're just, it's always an automatic loss. Plus, they were playing the Kings, which is also an automatic loss. As I said, Los Angeles is 9-0-1 against the Islanders in their last 10. And the only win was that comeback that a couple of years ago where they beat the Kings in overtime. I think they were down like 2-0 late. And
it was in December. Because my wife and I were having a Christmas party.
Yeah, and Pajot I think scored in overtime, and I think that kickstarted the Islanders a little bit that season. But then you got no time to dwell on it. Plus, as you said, like the game plan here was, okay, we're down 3-0. We don't have a choice, but we got to just play Matthew Schaefer 30 minutes. We got to play Matt Barzal 25 minutes. We got to play Bo Horvat 25 minthis because nobody
with a game the next day,
which is going to be critical. The annual must-win game against the Flames in March. This is the third straight year in a row where the Islanders have had a massive game against the Flames in February or March. Last year was the game where Matt Coronado scored twice, and the Islanders took the lead late and then blew it and then lost in overtime. But I just remember Shannon like selling it like, yeah, but if you're gonna lose, aren't you happy to lose to a Long Island guy? And being like, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
And and that kind of that spiraled them. But so the Flames being on the schedule for me at least scared me the next day, especially with these guys playing so much. And as you were saying, it does feel like there's no game plan, and I think it's got so much to do with the roster, because the way the Islanders are playing right now and deploying their lineup, you have this Ferrari of a first line with whoever's going to, whether it's Heineman or whoever's going to be playing with Barzal and Horvat for the most part. And then from there, it kind of just takes like a really hard right turn into 3 third lines or 2 third lines and a fourth line with Shen was playing with that night was playing with like Palat and Richie.
Yeah.
Which didn't seem to work. Then you had the Pajot Lee Holmstrom line, which is great. That's a great third line to have if you have a good second line. And then you've got the fourth line with Gatcomb and Shabanov with Cizikas that night. So it felt like, and then defensively that third pair. I want to talk about that one more in the Flames game, but Mayfield had a pretty big nightmare against the Kings, and then Soucy wasn't great the next night. But it just feels like after the good players come off the ice, the Islanders and I'll include like Pajot, Holmstrom, and Lee in that. Like it feels like the other kind of 6 players for the most part. I thought the fourth line was good against the Flames last night, but like for the most part, it feels like it's very much nobody knows what they're doing because they're all so different. It's square pegs and round holes. Like Braden Shen and Cal Ritchie, like feels a little weird. And then like the next night it was like Shen, Duclair, and Holmstrom, which was better, but still like it's just you feel like by adding Palat and by adding Shen and the fact that like the other options are McLean and Gatcomb, who are essentially the same people. And then you have this the enigma. We're back to having enigmatic Russians, which was a hockey trope for the late 90s and early 2000s. But like, is there been a more enigmatic Russian than Max Shabanov? I thought he was so good against. I was like, he's doing some really cool shit here against in these 2 games. And
he was very active.
Yeah, he was active, and he had a great chance where he set up with Gatcomb and this whole thing. But at the same time, like they just don't go in, and I have no idea like what he's supposed to be doing when he's not got the puck on his stick or they're not in the offensive zone. And then like McLean and Gatcomb aren't going to score. And then you have like the other option is Duclair, who God knows what to make of where he's at this season. So
is he in? Is he out? Exactly. Whose line is he on? What side is he on?
He must be so goddamn. He's like a dog who's got like who's being raised by like 6 different owners.
He was the only Islander. We're gonna get to the Flames in a minute, but like he was the only Islander in the third period of that Flames game that had any jump whatsoever. And it has to be because he barely played. He didn't play the night before, and he barely played in the game that night. Yeah. So he was the only guy with any energy.
I thought he was good. I was like he's doing well. But then I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, it's because he didn't play last night. But yeah, so I mean, I just feel like there's so many. Like this team really reminds me a lot of those mercenary teams in 2006, 7 and 05, 06, where I'm looking at them like, okay, you've got like sort of got the future with Schaefer and like the Richie types, and then you've got the core of Barzal and Horvat and you could throw Pelech and Polak in there and the goalies, and then Lee and Pajot have been around forever, and Holmstrom's been great, but then like everything else is just kind of like floating and around them. And I don't think it was ever more apparent than in this game. I was like, what's like the game plan here? And I think Patrick Waugh was the same thing. He's like, well, the only option here is to put the guys I know what they're going to do on the ice out on the ice. And that was Barzal and Horvat and Schaefer. And I mean, even Tony DeAngelo, like those kind of guys, like that was it. And that's the spot. You can't really be in that spot if you're in a, hey, we got to win 15 games left. You're probably going to need 98 points, 99 points to get in. The Islanders are at 81. So you're going to have to win 9 of the 15 or so, or get to that mark. And it's going to be hard to do it like this. So they got to figure out what the right mix of with these guys. And on some level, I kind of feel for Patrick Waugh, because I feel like the Islanders threw a couple of wrenches into the system with the guys that they brought in. And at the other hand, it's like, well, it's your job. You gotta we
Yeah.
got to sort it out.
Yeah. I don't feel too bad for him. The Isles House guys put it perfectly. They said he started getting too cute with these line changes. And of course, halfway through the game, when they're down 3-0, he just goes back to the lines from before. So it's like, why did you think the need to do this? And like we've talked about this all season long. The lineup changes every game. The lines change every game. There's just no consistency. And I think the reason why Barzal, Horvat, Schaefer work is they're all really great, but also I think they communicate with one another. And like they know they have a chemistry together that works. The other lines don't really have that much chemistry. And like we saw some good stuff in we might as well get to the Calgary game now. Because we saw some good stuff. That this was our friend Ian, who's a listener who has a great newsletter you guys should check out. He called it a mirror image game because this was almost the exact opposite of the Kings game. The Islanders jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first period. Palat and Cizikas, who seemed to make a pretty good fourth line, crashed the net. Cizikas gets credited for it, 1-0. Islanders, they have a good PK. Shen, great pass to Holmstrom, roofs it right under the bar. His 15th of the year makes it 2-0. And then Holmstrom again, shorthanded goal from JG Pajot. Again, two guys who play together, who have chemistry that's very obvious. Makes it 3-0. Great period. So Holmstrom has 16 goals. I remember when people were worried about Holmstrom. Oh, I don't know if his development's going the right way. Is it time to trade him and cut bait early on him? Guys, it's fine.
Yeah,
he's there. He's going to end up with another 20 goals.
He's there. I think he's far and away there. Him and Pelech are very different, so it's hard to compare him. But I think he's right at this point, like their fourth or fifth most important player, right?
Yeah.
It's Schaefer, Barzal, not including the goalies. Schaefer, Barzal, Horvat, Pelech, and Holmstrom.
Yeah, he's the tier below those guys.
Yeah, exactly. He's like the bridge between the good players and the
Right. Yeah, him and Pajot exist in this sort of tweener region there. But he's been great. He's going to end up with another 20 goals. If he gets 18 or 19, that's okay too. Like the guy is just good. Like I think it's okay. We can just be like, we don't need to have like the yearly Simon Holmstrom discourse. The guy's just good. Yeah. He's a good player. I don't understand what else we need to discuss. So he's good.
The 92 is just still bizarre to like look at, it's just a
right.
Islander font is so, I feel like it's very, maybe it's just because we got used to it with Lou, but it's very conducive to like not a lot of, like to not being busy. And when you have like a sort of a long name plus the omelet,
the umlaut,
yeah, above the O, and then you got the like two big square numbers on there, 9-2. There's so much going on the back of his jersey, and he's just not that kind of player either. Like he's got the great hands and the pizzazz, but like he's so responsible that he's like a number 20 on the Dallas Stars, right? Like that's what he is in the old late 90s and Stars jerseys. But yeah, he's awesome. He's just he should be an Islander for life. And I bet you if you to a man went down that locker room, we're like, who's after Barzal, Schaefer, and Horvat, like who's the most talented player on this team? I think basically everybody in that line locker room would say Holmstrom.
We might need to start another faction. If we already had the uncles, we might have to start the little brothers because Schaefer, Holmstrom, even Barzal to a degree feel like the little brothers.
Barzal's he's the cool cousin who's like,
right,
hey, you're like drunk. You don't want your parents to know that you're drinking or whatever. You're past curfew. You need a ride home. God,
the guy gets you into the R-rated movies.
Yeah, right.
Like when you're 13. Yeah,
we'll call my cousin Barzy. He'll pick us up. He won't tell our parents either. He's gonna tell us like how stupid we're being, and he's gonna mean it. It's gonna be genuine. And then he's gonna give me like a wink, and then he's gonna speed off in his Camaro into the night with some great 80s rock playing as the score.
Right.
Yeah, that's my cousin Barzy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So so he is between the uncles and the little brothers,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Holmstrom has been great. I like that. There's a story, I think it's on the Islanders website, where he talks about the umlaut, and they're like, so what made the decision? He was like, I don't know. Jason Berger, the equipment guy, noticed that's how I spell it, and so he just did it. I go, oh, okay. Like nobody noticed this before. So anyway, shout out Jason Berger. Anyway, so at this point, so it's 3-0 Islanders after the first, and at this point, the Flames make a curious move. They pull goalie Devin Cooley, and they put in Dustin Wolf, who has been terrific. He's the Flames' best player, has been all season. They're the second worst team in the NHL, but not because of Wolf, because he's been great. And I'm thinking to myself, there have got to be Flames fans out there being like, what the hell are we doing? Why would you do this? Like, why would you try and, win a game here when, we can use a better draft pick? But hey, good for the Flames and Ryan Huska. They gave it their all. And after a second period that had no goals, I just put nice and boring here. I thought that's how the third period was going to play out, but the Flames had other ideas. Michael Backlund with tip in makes it 3-1. Blake Coleman gets behind Soucy and Mayfield, and this is where we could talk about that pairing if you want. Makes it 3-2 Islanders. And it was a rough ride, man. The Islanders had to hang on. They couldn't quite get the empty net, but give the Flames credit. And you and I were talking before we came on about how, like, when you're in a situation like this where your season is effectively over, you do want the higher draft pick, but it is nice to see the team come out and try. And the Flames really did give the Islanders a run for their money. And again, I'm sure there were Flames fans that were like, no, we just need to lose. And they would have happily taken a 6-0 loss as opposed to a 3-2 loss. But, I guess the players always feel differently about that kind of stuff. Thought David Riddick was good. He made 30 saves. Everything I thought he did was pretty well. You couldn't really fault him for either of those two goals. Cooley made 7 saves on 10 shots. And then Wolf was great. He made 17, but again, he's been great all season. Needed the points, almost gave it away. I want to be generous and chalk it up to last period of a back-to-back. Really, the Kings game was pretty furious throughout. The first period of this game against the Flames was pretty furious as well. They had a really structured, nice change of pace, a nice structured, well-maintained second period that was very boring, but I will take that all day of the week. And so maybe they were just gassed for this third period, which allowed the Flames to kind of come back in a little bit. But still, the points were very necessary. Columbus won. They were tied with the Flyers, came back. Well, not came back, but they ended up winning in a shootout. The Penguins were down 2-0 to Utah. They came back to win. I want to get more into that later on. But, if you really want to nitpick this game, aside from the Holmstrom goals, the Soucy-Mayfield pairing is really a problem. Soucy has been a problem. It was funny watching him score a goal against the Rangers, but we could go back and forth on Shen and Palat all day. I feel like they'll find their spots. Palat looked good on the fourth line. I feel like Shen will find his role eventually, but I don't know how much more of this Soucy I can take. The best thing so far about Carson Soucy is, again, he's a handsome guy. He scored that goal against the Rangers, which was very funny, and is apparently the team's ace at Mario Kart, which we found out this week via a podcast appearance by Matthew Schaefer. So that's all cool stuff. Respect the guy for the Mario Kart game, but on the ice, this is becoming a real problem here. And that goal by Coleman, he just kind of just went behind them and just scored a beautiful goal, but it was rough to see. And you had a few things you wanted to say about the third pairing that the Islanders are running right now.
Yeah, this is kind of why I was saying, like, they should still have gotten another Carson Soucy at the trade deadline, right? Like, they should have just thrown in the Braden Coburn acquisition because
Brandon Davidson.
Yeah, Brandon, exactly. Yeah. Just go get that one extra body between Soucy and Boquist, especially handedness, but because Carson Soucy and Scott Mayfield they are not made for each other, right? Like, they are very good at similar things. Like, they're good penalty killers. They're physical. They're big, rangy. They're slow. But I should say, and then those are the things they're good at. But also, they're bad at the same things, which is making that first breakout pass, skating the puck out, exiting, entering the zone, keeping plays alive in the offensive zone, all that kind of stuff.
It's like oil and a match.
Yeah. Like,
we've gone past oil and water. These guys are like oil and a match. You really want to keep them separated from each other.
Exactly. Yeah. At the time, like, totally understood the acquisition, right? But there's a huge difference between a stopgap and a solution. And I think that the Islanders, the reinforcements that they've made were all stopgaps and none were solutions. And I think that we're starting to see that a little bit. But I don't really know what the answer is here. Like, do you call up the Isaiah George, Marshall Warren, Travis Mitchell brigade? Do you just play Boquist on his offside? That hasn't worked either. Like, do you? The other two pairings seem to be fine. Like, those four have played together for so long now. You feel a little awkward about mixing it up when you're just asking Soucy Carson Sushi, as Butchie was calling him, and Scott Mayfield to play 12 to 14 minutes a night. Like, can you just try to survive those? But it was a problem against that Flames game and against the Kings. It was Mayfield against the Kings and Susie against the Flames. So they got to sort that out somehow, because they are both very combustible too, like with the puck on their stick. And so we'll see how that goes. It's a little scary, but this game was, I mean, it should have been, this should have been your classic, kick the recliner up,
right?
Out of town scoreboard watching for the third period, but you couldn't take the time off from it because of the way that third looked. And guys might have been exasperated. I thought finally, we've been saying it since the Islanders traded for Andre Palat. Like his perfect spot on this team is plain to see. He shouldn't be playing with Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat. He can't keep up. He shouldn't be playing with Cal Ritchie or Simon Holmstrom or JG Pajot. Like, that's just not what you don't want to have. Like, once again, it's like a square peg thing. But there was such an obvious spot for this guy, and it was you staple him next to Casey Cizikas, and then you rotate or you wait to find the right guy, whether it's Gatcomb or McLean or Shabanov or whoever on the other side with them, because Andre Palat goes from being a really bad first or second liner to a very good fourth liner. Like, that fourth line. If you go into game one of a playoff series with Andre Palat, Casey Cizikas, and Mark Gatcomb as your fourth line, you feel pretty good about that, because you know that Cizikas and Palat and last year's version of Gatcomb, like, they'll chip in the odd goal, and Palat's a very skilled would be a very skilled fourth liner. I mean, like, you don't want to be paying your fourth liner $6 million, but we're past that point. And but so I'm hopeful that they kind of ride with that. I think it looked good. I thought that Holmstrom was just all over it last night. I thought Duclair was really good. So maybe like the Shen Duclair Holmstrom line works. We'll see about the Richie Pajot Lee situation, but and even like, I still think that the Islanders should be looking to find the exact right fit for Horvat and Barzal in the first line. I know they like throwing Heineman there. It kind of makes sense because he's got the shot, but at the same time, he's just been he was in the cooler for so long before those tips that you'd almost would. Maybe it's Duclair. I don't know who it is, but they still have so much to sort out, and it's not the time to be sorting things out, right? It's not the time to be like, oh man, our third pairing looks like a disaster. And I mean, it's bad when Thomas Hickey he spent like 2 minutes talking about it, and he's been really, really kind of wary of being too critical of the Islanders this season, it feels like. And I don't know if he got in trouble for being too critical of them last year or whatever, but this year it's been a little different. And he was even like, these guys have played 15 games together, so you'd hope by this point they'd have sorted it out, but they haven't. So I don't know what the answer is there at all. I really don't. And but they got to find one, because I don't think the other teams, like the Penguins, are trying to sort out their roster because of Evgeny Malkin cross-checked Rasmus Dahlin in the neck and got suspended for 5 games, and Crosby got hurt at the Olympics. Which, that's why all the Canadian flags have been flying at half staff for the past few weeks. But like, I don't think that the Connor Garland, of course, ironically goes to the Blue Jackets and he scores and does stuff every night, after we were told by some Islander beat writers or one beat writer that he's coming to the island. But so he's playing right there with Kyrou Garland on your former future Islander scoring line. But I don't think those other teams are trying to sort that stuff out. Maybe they are, and I'm just not watching them as closely as I am the Islanders. But I don't think that the Penguins are worried about anything aside from like, we just got to get Sid and Gino back in the lineup, and the Blue Jackets are just like, we just got to catch up. Like we dug ourselves too much of a hole. But the Islanders have some other sorting out to do. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, we were just talking about this. Like, it feels like every game they're sorting things out. Because the coach resets the lineup every game.
Right.
And so they're constantly sorting stuff out. It's like, oh, maybe these guys work. Maybe these guys.
I was going to ask, like, have you watched a game and been like, oh, this is what the lineup should look like?
No.
I haven't. I feel like I haven't. I can't.
The Flames game came about as close as you're going to get.
I guess.
Because the Palat was on the fourth line. Would I prefer Gatcomb than over McLean? Yeah, but that's probably a preference thing. I don't think McLean was that bad.
I thought the fourth line was really good last night.
Right. but I generally prefer Gatcombe, obviously. As long as Holmstrom and Pajot are together, they're fine. I guess they had Lee on the other side, so that's fine. I'm okay with that. Richie, Shen, and I guess it was Duclair.
Last night it was Holmstrom, Shen, and Duclair.
Oh,
and they
okay.
were all right. And like but at the same time, like,
right.
Is that because of, like, I think
Right.
Simon Holmstrom and JG Pajot are kind of like the guys that if we say this about Pajot all the time, like, oh man, that guy's struggling, staple him next to 44.
Yeah.
And I feel like Holmstrom, if you're a center and you need help, like, you just staple him next to 10 or 92 with the Omulat. Like,
Jack Islesden from Isles House calls Pajot the director of player development because he's the guy you always put the struggling players with. I love that. But but see, here's the thing. The fact that we don't even know who was on whose line last night gives you all the indications that we just don't have any clue. And like, so having Barzell and Horvat together is fine. And Heineman was fine on that line. That's okay. But like, even like that was, I think Barry Trotz did that too. Like they had pairings. And so the two guys would always be together and then you would always find a third guy and maybe it works. So it's just, I'm tired of the experimentation. That should have ended months ago. Like the guys getting you brought in over the trade deadline or even just before, because they had the Olympic break, like those guys I see trying to find spots for, but like we shouldn't have had all this, moving around. Like these guys should just know who their line mates are and have that built-in chemistry that comes with that kind of stuff. But the Islanders don't. And so that, it means every game has been a bit of a struggle. And as far as, Soucy and Mayfield go, it's rough to watch. The hope is always that playoff Scott Mayfield can return once the refs start swallowing their whistles a little bit and getting, let a cross check here and there go that they normally wouldn't in the regular season. But Soucy's been rough. He did have a nice play last night, nice defensive play. It might have been in that second period where the Islanders were generally good defensively, but it's been not good. And my preference would be to call up Marshall Warren, but as I look at the AHL standings, if the season ended today, Bridgeport is in a playoff position. So they're probably maybe reluctant to do that. I'm just spitballing. I have no idea. He's had a pretty good season, I think, more so than Isaiah George, who has been hurt a little bit. I say this as a person that has watched 0 minutes of Bridgeport this year. Check out Isles in the Sound if you want a nice newsletter on the Bridgeport team. So, but all I know is I don't want to watch Carson Soucy anymore. And I would rather watch Marshall Warren, a guy who I've been high on since they acquired him because he's an Islanders fan. And I know that's stupid, but that's how my brain works. So, a lot of good, a lot of bad. 4 points was enormous. Should have been 6. That LA game really didn't need to be that. Oh, I'm surprised we didn't hear, at least I didn't hear it's really hard to win the first game after coming back from a road trip line that we often hear about. But that game, losing is one thing, but like losing the way they lost that game really shouldn't have happened. It was really unfortunate. And the fact that all the teams around them lost the night before made it even worse. So could have been better, but 4 points is fine. Your Viam cyborg of the week, Simon Holmstrom, because of course he's got to be. So, I think this was pretty indicative of the season. There was a lot of good, some not so good, some puzzling, some, really infuriating, but ultimately you look back and you're like, yeah, you know what? They're okay. They still do control their own destiny. They still are in a good position. As I said with Jenny last week, you'd rather be in the front of the line than chasing. Because I feel like at some point you might just drop off. Hopefully that happens to the Blue Jackets soon, but we're going to talk about that in the second half. Any final thoughts on these 3 games here before we take our break and move on to the second half?
Yeah, I think that's right. Like it's the results are good. The process has been really confusing, but it's been like that all season. And in a lot of ways, it's at the same time, it gives you a ton of hope and optimism. You're like, well, if they're playing at 100-point pace while still sorting out a lot of issues that most good teams sort out in late October, early November, then maybe the ceiling is higher than you think. And of course, they've got the goalie and the top of the lineup is great. And so like there's all this optimism, and then at the same exact time, the devil on one shoulder, angel on the other, it's, you're like, well, they haven't sorted this out yet. Like this could, this can go pear-shaped at any moment. They're on borrowed time here. And I think that there are, like, let's put it this way. I think if you were looking at this, if you were looking at the Islanders from the Blue Jackets point of view or the Penguins or whatever, you're like, this team, they're 10-0 and 3-on-3. They've got a Vezina caliber goalie. They got Schaefer. They come back. They've got more 1-goal wins than any team in the NHL. An absolute. It's Mickey Mouse. They're due for regression and all this stuff. And that's what we'd be saying if we were Blue Jackets anxiety, right? We'd be saying the Islanders are going to come back down. They're going to come back down.
Right.
But from here, like, we've watched this team and we're like, well, it's not as simple as that. It's just not. Like, they've earned in a weird way, they've earned where they are. Like, they've done it. They've shown the resiliency and they've got the goalies are part of the team, and they've got these elite players who are playing at a really high level, and they've got the togetherness and the culture, to borrow a phrase from Nick Kyprios. A lot of culture talk up there this week. That helps you, that pushes you forward. So yeah, I mean, who knows where this goes, and but that's been this entire season, right? Like, this season has never looked linear. It's never looked straightforward. It's never played out that way. And it feels like that's just going to keep continuing to the very end. And there was a point 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 2 ago, maybe right before the break, maybe right after the break, where we were like, finally, like, we can take a deep breath, and we should have known a lot better, because even though since then they've played at a pretty good clip, we haven't been able to, because other teams are still coming and more join the fray every day. Like, the Senators are now everyone's pick. I think they look really good. Yeah. And we'll talk about them too. But so yeah, I mean, we're 67 games into the season. Is that correct? 67 games?
Yeah, 67.
Yeah, they're 67 games into this season, and they've sorted out absolutely nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. It might as well be game 1. So, because I've got no idea how this ends. And every time I think I have a feeling, it gets proven wrong by a dud against the Canucks, or a great game against the Avalanche. So.
yeah, it's there. It just, I don't know. I guess the way I would sum it up is it feels like there's something missing, but it's good. But it just feels, it's like if you're making a great meal and it's tasty, but it just feels like there's something missing. Like, there's like salt missing or pepper, something very basic that's missing, but otherwise it's good. It tastes good. So we will look ahead to the next few games and get to some other, I think, big picture topics in the second half. So meet us on the other side. Thanks. The fine folks at FOCO are having a buy 2 get 1 free sale on t-shirts all through March. They have dozens of styles for the Islanders and just about any other team you could think of. Go to foco.com or use the link in the podcast description to browse the store, then use the code ANXIETY241. That's anxiety, the number 2, FOR, then the number 1 to take advantage. The offer ends March 31st, so don't wait. That is FOCO, FOCO.com. And now, a word from our sponsors. VintageIceHockey.com. Over 100 classic hockey logos on t-shirts, jerseys, hats, mugs, and more. Long Island Ducks, Albany Riverettes, Danbury Trashers, Kentucky Thoroughblades, and so many more. Plus a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch, with our portion of the sales going directly to the Center for Dementia Research. These incredible items cannot be found in stores, so shop VintageIceHockey.com today. Relax, sit back, and enjoy wine from The Pinot Project. Rosé, Pinot Grigio, or a Pinot Noir that was named a Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. These wines are delicious, affordable, and available at area wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. And please, drink responsibly.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
LifeLock, how can I help? The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Did you know only 6% of people are getting enough fiber? That's why Quaker created Fiber February, a month-long movement to show your gut a little more love. It's like dry January, only easier and more delicious. Quaker has over 100 delicious options that are a good source of fiber. So go buy Quaker Oats today and join the Fiber February movement for a healthy gut.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Could AI help you do more of what you love? Like reaching bigger goals ahead of schedule, growing careers, and the bottom line. Workday is the next-gen ERP powered by AI that actually knows your business, anticipating your toughest challenges and how to better solve them. Connecting more dots in your organization so your people have more time to connect to what they love. It's a new Workday.
Okay, before we get into the Islanders' upcoming schedule, a little bit about our schedule. Obviously, you're listening to this today on Monday. Also coming out on Monday is the call for questions for our monthly mailbag podcast for March. If you're a Country Club tier subscriber, you can head over to the Patreon, ask us a question. We'll be recording that Monday night, and that will come out Tuesday. Big day Tuesday, game in Toronto, and also St. Patrick's Day. So enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. You know, you want to have a few beers, listen to us answer some questions from our patrons, go for it. So that'll be happening this week. And then on Friday, another fantastic episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast. This one came about rather quickly. When you see who the player is, you'll understand why. Normally, you know, we record these things and then they come out months later. This time it was a pretty quick turnaround for us, but it's great. Our guest is great. It was great to get him back on again. And we also have a Weird Islanders extra bonus episode for Country Club tier subscribers at the Patreon as well, in which our guest tells us a little bit about the ownership structure of the team he covers. And then we explain the Islanders ownership structure to him, including the real owner of the Islanders, Reese Witherspoon. So that was a fun one. And that, again, is for Country Club tier subscribers at the Patreon. Weird Islanders extra. Weird Islanders, the episode will go out for everybody on Friday. And it's great. It was a really great episode. As a player I want to talk about for a long time, a guy, again, it was great to get back on again. And so check it out. It was a lot of fun. Okay. So less fun is what the Islanders schedule looks like this week. Tuesday in Toronto, 7:00. Thursday and in Ottawa, 7:00. Saturday in Montreal, also 7:00. And then Sunday, the 22nd, back home to face the Columbus Blue Jackets at 7:00. So, Mike, congratulations to you in that the Islanders have 4 games all played at the exact same time. So that's something we've been hoping for this season. Took a while, took till the middle of March, but finally 4 games in a row, all at the same time. Actually, the next 2 next week are like that too. But you know, let's just look at the Canadian games real quick, and then we'll talk about the Blue Jackets separately. On paper, the Islanders are better than all of these teams. I feel like they've beaten all 3 of them, right? Didn't they beat the Senators earlier this season? So
yes.
Yeah, we know they beat the Leafs in overtime. We know they beat the Canadiens in overtime. So theoretically, the Islanders could win all of these games. But as for the reasons we just talked about before, I'm thinking that, you know, my confidence level is not high. And that includes the game against the Leafs, who, as you all know by now, do not have Austin Matthews. He's out for the rest of the season, courtesy of a neon hit by Radko Gudas of the Anaheim Ducks. If you haven't seen the hit, you should go look. Not to see Austin Matthews get hurt, but you should look at it at the through the Ducks broadcast, because this remains one of the worst broadcasts in all the NHL. And I don't know, did you see the Ducks broadcast the way they sold this hit?
No, I did not.
It's hilarious. They're like, oh, looks like a penalty's been called. Maybe Radko got somebody with his stick. There's a leaf down. Yeah, he went knee on knee with Austin Matthews, guys. He went knee on knee with Austin Matthews. I don't know how else to explain this. He went knee on knee with Austin Matthews. Like, a leaf is down. Yeah, he's kind of a big deal. Like, let's be honest. It's kind of a big deal. Maybe got him with his stick. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he just drove his knee into Austin Matthews' knee, torn MCL. He's out for the rest of the season. So, still, no Matthews. The Leafs, their response to that hit has been a big topic too. And they've been using the Islanders as sort of like, you see what these guys do for this kid, so it'll be interesting how this plays out. But I am worried about all three of these. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Even that, I know people are like, well, the Leafs don't have Matthews. They suck before. But yeah, but look at the way the Islanders play. Like, you can't ever take anything for granted with these guys. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it's, we always do the Islanders schedule in the first half of the second half of our show. We talk about the games coming up, but now you got to do, basically you got to also throw in, okay, so the Penguins have a tough week coming up, right? Right. The Penguins play the Avalanche on Monday night. Then they have the Hurricanes, the Jets, and then the Hurricanes, and the Blue Jackets have the Hurricanes, Rangers, Kraken, and then the Islanders. So you look at it, and if you were those teams, you'd say, the Islanders have, inarguably they have an easier schedule than the Penguins do, right? They've got the Avalanche and the Hurricanes as 3 out of their 4 games this week. I think you look at the Blue Jackets schedule and the Islanders schedule, and you'd say it's probably a wash. But I mean, I would argue with them, like, this is the scariest week I've ever seen. This is because, yeah, like, you're getting a Maple Leafs team that's got nothing to play for. They're dealing with their fan base and media circus eating each other alive over whether it's better for them to lose on purpose, because they've just discovered how to, what it's like to have a losing season, and that the draft lottery exists and all that kind of stuff. Even though for a decade before the last decade, the Maple Leafs were just absolutely terrible. So you'd think that these guys would be used to and know how to handle this stuff, but somehow they never cease to amaze. But yeah, like that's a horrifying game, because you'd say, oh, it's not a must-win game because it's not like they're competing with the Maple Leafs, but it's a must-win game because they need those 2 points, because the next 3 games are against teams they're directly competing with. So you need to get those 2 points in your pocket before you go through that little 3-step with the Habs, Senators, and Blue Jackets, or Senators, Habs, Blue Jackets. And yeah, it's scary. You're going into Toronto. There's this Schaefer media circus will be there for that.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because Elliot Friedman was saying they were on Long Island filming something at an Islanders practice. So Sportsnet's going to have some kind of Schaefer package for that game.
Right.
And it's probably going to be terrible. And it's going to treat the Islanders like a friggin' alien species. It's going to be like when you used to go to Great Adventure here in Jersey, and you go through the safari and you see all like these kind of sad monkeys behind fences. They're going to treat the Islanders like that, basically.
When did they start wearing the royal blue again?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Yeah, it's gonna be
be bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be terrible. And so like that, there's all that. Plus, so like that night, like I said, the Penguins play on Monday night, so you'll know what they've done against the Avalanche. And that night they've got simultaneously the Blue Jackets are playing the Hurricanes. So you feel that that's an opportunity where the Islanders can maybe push themselves 2 points further than the Penguins or Blue Jackets, and earn themselves a little bit of a breath before the Senators game, because that Senators game I think is going to be a loss. It just feels like there's no way they win that one.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it just does. It feels like the Senators they've been playing some good stuff. They've finally started to get some semblance of goaltending. I know Jake Sanderson is hurt, but it just feels like the waters are pretty calm in Ottawa right now, and things are just they're the team everyone's kind of afraid of. We don't want to see Ottawa in round 1, and for good reason. Yeah. And I think that they're I just think they're going to flat out beat the Islanders on Thursday. So I've decided on that already, which has added to my thinking that Toronto is a must win, and then you gotta find a way to get points in Montreal. Then you have to beat the Blue Jackets. Like there's going to be unless Columbus goes in completely into the tank before that game, they lose to the Canes, they lose to the Blue Jackets. I mean, they lose to the Rangers, and then they lose to the Kraken, and don't pick up anything. Like that game against the Blue Jackets is going to be the most important of the season by the time it rolls around. So it's at home on a Sunday night. You'd hope that the Islanders are able to ride. Both teams will be on a back-to-back, second night of a back-to-back. You'd hope that the Islanders are able to ride the advantages of being home and having a good crowd behind them, but it just hasn't really been that simple for them. So it's all scary stuff.
Yeah, that Blue Jackets game could be the season. Like let's just be blunt. Like it all depends on how the preceding games go. If they win all three or even two of those games, I think the Blue Jackets game takes on a little bit less importance. If they lose all three of those games, then that's the season. And they lose to the Blue Jackets. I mean, I'm not saying they should lose to the Blue Jackets. They could lose. Don't lose to the Blue Jackets. Beat the Blue Jackets. But if you beat them and you've taken two, you're probably right. I would think maybe they'll beat the Leafs and Habs, probably lose to the Senators. Then they'll probably end up in the same exact spot they are now, right? If you lose two of those games, let's say they beat the Leafs, lose to the Senators and Habs, and then lose to the Blue Jackets, now your season is essentially on life support. Like it's very, very bad scene that you don't want. And that's exactly how you go from being in the driver's seat to riding shotgun or perhaps being in the trunk. Like you don't want that. So they need to win these games. That's why I said on paper, theoretically, the Islanders should have the advantage in a lot of these. They have the better goaltending in all of these games. The Leafs their season is completely washed, but you wonder if they're going to try some kind of shenanigans to prove what big macho men they are and try and go after somebody. And then of course, it'll be Schaefer and then they'll get jumped by the entire Islanders roster. And then a whole thing breaks out. And then, it's weeks of discourse on the Real Kipper and Bourne show, which has been appointment listening. If you have not been listening, the fervor with which Nick Kyprios has little to no respect for Austin Matthews is really fascinating. It's amazing. It's amazing. So you definitely need to check it out. John Tavares I think is a -22 now on the season. Yeah. He's barely scored. So look for him to get at least two in that game. But yeah. And listen, the Senators are playing well. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're still too far away, but they have been getting goaltending lately. And so they can be beaten. And the Habs, they're in a bit of a funk too. They lost to San Jose the other day. We saw the Islanders beat them. They almost threw it away with the 2 goals by Noah Dobson, but they came back and won that one in overtime, which was huge. So there's a scenario in which the Islanders win all 3 of these and then lose to the Blue Jackets. And it's not that bad, because you picked up 6 points, but there's a scenario in which they lose these 3 and then they go into that Blue Jackets game being like, well, if we don't beat these guys, we're in big trouble. Right. And now being at home is huge because their record against Columbus on Long Island, whether it was Coliseum, Barclays, or UBS, I think is pretty good. It's definitely way better than it is in Columbus, where the Islanders never win. But any way you slice it, this is a rough one. And this is the point where a lot of these lost points to teams like LA, whoever else they lost to in the last month or so, they lost in Anaheim. No, they won in Anaheim, right? Yeah. No, they lost in Anaheim. They lost in Anaheim. That kind of stuff comes back to roost because had you won some of those games even before the Olympic break, it's not nearly as dire as it is now. But you never know. Maybe they come out and do this stuff, and maybe, like I said, maybe these guys find a place, and maybe Shen finds a home, and maybe Palat starts to contribute from the 4th line and changes that outlook too. So who knows? Maybe Susie gets another goal against the Leafs. That would be kind of a funny thing to happen too. So we'll have to see. But now the reward for all that, and we'll talk about this next week, obviously, are games against the Blackhawks, Stars, and Panthers. And if they manage to survive all that, then they get the Penguins and Sabres the last week of March. So the last 2 days of March. So this is going to be a rough ride. I mean, the whole season has not been smooth, but looking a lot more rough coming up here. And then before you know it, it's the middle of April and you're either in or you're out. April 14th is the last regular season game of the season. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like this feeling. And had they just beaten the Kings,
oh man,
we wouldn't be feeling like this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's just been some spots this season where if they just brought their B- game, they would have been fine. And they just didn't. They weren't able to do that because it was the first game back after a road trip or whatever other excuse. First game back after the holidays or whatever they were coming up with. But yeah, and the Islanders blew just by points percentage. Also, we should note that the Senators, that when they play the Islanders on Thursday, the Senators are in Washington the night before too, so they do get a little bit of a schedule break there. If you look at the remaining schedules of these teams that they're directly fighting with in the Metro, the Islanders, Penguins, and Blue Jackets have the hardest schedules remaining in the league.
Really?
Yeah. Excuse me, 3 out of the 4. So it's Penguins, Bruins, Islanders, and Blue Jackets. But the difference between them in terms of like opponents' points percentages is negligible. But the good thing about the Islanders is they'll play the Hurricanes the last day of the season. And if that game means something to the Islanders, it's probably not going to mean much to the Hurricanes. So like you can maybe see a situation where Eric Tulsky, in his infinite wisdom, decides to just call up the Charlotte Checkers or whatever. And so that that's a little bit of a break. But just generally, like the remaining schedule for these teams are all pretty tough. And so it's not like after this week you can be like, okay, we're through the hard part. It's going to be a month of torture here with tricky games at every turn.
Right. Well, and that gets to something we kind of alluded to a little bit before, and this is kind of more of a general sort of topic, but to me, and I thought about this last night after the Flames game, because the Blue Jackets were in a game against the Flyers, which again, they won in a shootout. The Penguins were down 2-0 to Utah and then came back to win. The worst part about this kind of life that the Islanders live, where they're constantly on the edge or constantly a week or 2 games from falling below the cut-off line. We should say, by the way, it might not be as bad as we're making it sound, because there are 2 wildcard spots that are also up for grabs. The Bruins and Red Wings have more or less, kind of in the same range of points as the Islanders do. And like we said, the Red Wings are kind of struggling a little bit right now too. But the worst part about this, kind of mid-range life is not so much the losses that your team incurs, because that's on them, but it's having to put your faith in what can be generously described as like these shitheel, sad sack loser organizations that are never going to help you out when you need them to. And I was thinking about this last night because, the Flyers lost in a shootout. I have a lot of friends who are Flyers fans. I follow them on, various social media things. And it's like, it struck me that being a Philadelphia Flyer used to mean something. It used to come with a pride attached to it. And we're Islanders fans. We probably didn't like them. You probably didn't respect them. But like, you knew that playing the Flyers meant you were going to be in for a rough ride. They were not going to make it easy on you. They were going to, not so much, even if they're tough, they're going to have a lot of scoring. They always had good goaltending, that sort of thing. Or usually, sometimes had good goaltending. Sometimes they didn't. But like, it was never going to be easy. And here's a Flyers team that is full of just sort of like generic guys. The coach is constantly playing to not lose, which of course means that they lose all the time. They never seem to win beyond regulation. They're always losing in shootouts and things like that. And like, the biggest topic is, do the coach and the Russian guy get along and like each other? Like, what happened to these guys? I don't understand. Like, Utah losing that game was annoying, but like, Utah is and will always forever be a odd backwater in the NHL. I don't expect them ever to be a player in anything, no matter how many times Bill Armstrong calls the insiders and tell them we're really going for it this summer. Yeah, okay, Bill. We've heard that story before. Like, we'll believe you. We'll believe you when we see it, Bill. Thanks for calling. But like, I don't know, it used to be like, oh man, they're playing the Flyers. Oh, good. Maybe they can help us out. Nope, not happening. Devils, nope, not happening. Actually, believe it or not, they might get the most help from the Rangers if they're playing any of these teams, because they, of course, have turned it on as they sink to the bottom of the Eastern Conference standing. So I hate this. I hate when the Islanders lose these late season games. You're like, oh man, that just really sucks. It's an opportunity missed. But when you're just sitting there refreshing NHL.com and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what makes it just that extra twist of the knife. That's just like, can somebody help out, please? Can somebody show a little bit of pride in a late season game and try and win a game even when you're out of it? Like, is that too much to ask? Not even to help the Islanders, just to help yourselves. I mean, look at what the Flames did, right? Like, at least they tried and they're out of it. So I don't know. I just thought about it and I was just like, man, what happened to the Flyers? I know they haven't won since the year before I was born, but still, it's bad. What are you doing? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much on.
So this actually kind of transitions well into like a thought, something I wanted to bring up, which is still related to that Leafs game, which is that, like that, there's all this talk about next year and if the Leafs are going to be able to like rebound and and is it going to be a retool on the fly, or is it going to be a rebuild? Is it going to be a soft sell? Like, like shut the hell up. Like they're going to do the same thing every team does in every sport, which is just try to, go into the summer, try to get a little bit better, then see how things happen when the games start being played. Don't, as Lou says, like these words were not around when I was first starting. But there's all this talk about like the culture and like how the fan base clamoring for them to lose on purpose and to go full tank there's guys like Nick Kyprios and Gord Stellick who are like,
yes,
you don't want to do that because it just like kind of poisons the room. And they're right. Like I firmly believe that. I don't think I would have bought into that 10 years ago, but I do believe it now because I think it does. Like if you're going to just be a team where you're going to look at your captain and your Willie Styles, Tarpless Willie, and they're going to dog it down the stretch. Like, so are you. And that's going to just lead to bad habits and like a bad culture and people are going to resent you for it. Like, it's just, you're going to play with these guys again in September and they're not going to forget that like, oh yeah, like I was trying to block shots with my teeth and these guys just weren't trying. And I feel like the Flyers are a really good example of that. The Sabres were like this for a long time. It took the Sabres 14 years to sort this out. Right. The Sabres would lose 2 games in a row in October after everyone's like, the Sabres, this is their year. They lose 2 games in a row and they just couldn't pull themselves out of it because they got so used to the losing side of things. Right. And we're now seeing it with the Flyers, but because they're the Flyers and it used to mean something and there's this weird, they're held in such high regard. And for some reason, I guess it's because Danny Briere and Keith Jones, Keith Jones, who were running the team there, they're friends with everyone in media. Like they're just like given a pass for this. And now they got Tocchet behind the bench too, who's another media darling. And they're given a lot of runway for this, even though like this thing hasn't really moved forward. They've just been the same team for like the last 4 or 5 years, which is they're bad. They sort of have they're like close to the playoffs for a little bit, then they fall off, and then the Islanders depend on them to win a game in March or April, and then you watch them, you're like, holy shit, this team does not look like it wants to play hockey right now, and they lose, and they don't help us, and that's what this fan base has been dealing with, and for some reason, it's like totally okay. Like they're on what their plan is, right? Like at least the Flyers have told us what their plan is, okay, and their plan is what to keep losing until they start winning, and they're like, see, you told you it would work. Like there is nothing here. So I just don't get it. And I feel like, knock on wood, it happens with the Leafs that like this culture kind of seeps in and they kind of spiral out of control. And we're talking about Matthews and such, but I will say that the one guy, there was somebody who was the captain of that team for a long time, and the Matthews thing kind of brought to head all this talk about how this team has never stood up for one another, just never. The solution was always to bring in Nick Foligno or Ryan Reeves or Matt Martin, because you have those guys and they'll be the ones to step in and the Leafs media is always like, that's not a solution, like that's not culture, that's just throwing like a tool at something, right? And it's a tool, not a fix. And they're right. And there's one guy who was in charge of this room for a long time, and he somehow doesn't get any of the blame for this culture never being there for Toronto. So I've been waiting.
He is, though.
He's getting blamed.
He is starting to get some of
for
it,
his
though.
for his play.
Right.
He's never like no one's ever been like, yeah, like why didn't this guy like it's still he was the one who was in charge who then so graciously ripped the C off his own chest. So like
well,
come on.
I was listening to I guess it's the Sportsnet hockey show, and it was Mike Fuda, who was an assistant GM for a long time, and he was the one who brought it up. Like, John Tavares is the guy who they're always like, oh, look at the way he takes care of himself. Look at the way he handles himself. Look at the way he trains and he takes care of his body. Like, that's all great, but like, what about the rest of the team? Like, you know, so I was like, wow, that's
fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, LA Kings guy to bring it up.
Right.
That's why. Like the other guys just will never. They even say it. They're like, I'm always kind of hesitant to criticize him, and well, you can start criticizing him. This is kind of a lot of this is his fault.
Yeah, actually, that brings up two things I want to bring up. We'll get to the second one in a little bit, but yeah, as far as like plans go, the Leafs thing cracks me up too, because when they talk about like, oh, what they should do a retool, refresh. I said this before, like they're always like, look at what the Bruins have done. Right. The Bruins missed the playoffs last year, and look at where they are now. Guys, they've been in 8th place in the Eastern Conference all season long.
Right.
like don't get me wrong, that's fine.
the gold
like, the Bruins
standard. Well, last year, the year before that was the Capitals, right? Everyone's like, look at the Capitals. Yeah. The Capitals are going to miss the playoffs a year later.
Yeah. Like, yeah, look at what happened. They made the playoffs and they won a round, I think, didn't they? And then they just lost.
Yeah.
Like it just cracks me up that they're like holding up the Bruins as this sort of standard of excellence. Meanwhile, they're totally fine. Like they're a fine team.
They also like they bring up the trade in other aspects, but they don't bring up, hey, I wonder why the Bruins were able to bounce. Oh, because you traded them like a very good young third line center who like has like put everybody in their right spot. So you know what you need to do is you need to make a trade with the Leafs to become the Bruins,
right?
And then you can. And but yeah, I've been laughing at that too. Like look,
that really cracks me.
God, it's such a bizarre. They have no idea how to handle this. It's Sammy McKee and on Kipper and Bourne has been like, why aren't they sending out a letter to tell us exactly what they're gonna do? And Kipper's like, they just sent out a letter like 2 weeks ago. They're gonna send out another letter. He's like, you gotta tell me, you gotta tell the fans what you want to do. Like, what?
Right. Well, so, and because that's the other thing I want to get to, which is that I hear this a lot with the Islanders. Like, I've seen people saying like, I don't understand what the plan is. I thought they were supposed to get younger. They've got Schaefer now. They're supposed to go for it. Like, why are they acquiring guys with term that are old and everything? I highly, highly recommend people check out the Tri-State Hockey Podcast episode with Matthew Darsh. He's the first ever guest they had. They did a great job. Of course, it's our friend Arthur Staple, Johnny Lazarus, Mike Rupp, and they had Darsh on. And he was very open about what the Islanders' plan is. It's very clear. The plan is kind of twofold. One, to win with these guys now, meaning the core of this roster, Lee, Pajot, Cizikas, Pelech, Pulock, all the 30-year-old guys, some of whom have been here since the Obama administration, like to win with those guys. And Shen is right in there in terms of age, in terms of term of the contract. He's got 2 years left, obviously. Now that Pajot has got 3 years left, Lee is obviously a free agent at the end of this year. I think Cizikas has 2 more years after this. So they're all around the same age, around the same, output. They're all around the same term and left in their contract. So the goal is to win with these guys now, which is funny because they might miss the playoffs. But then also, while they're doing that, give the next generation guys a chance to develop, whether it be in the AHL or the NCAA or whatever. That's your Keishon Aitchisons, your Quinn Finleys, your Cole Isermans, your Danny Nelsons, all those, the Victor Eklund, all those guys. That's the goal. And so, there are opportunities for this roster to change next year. Susie, I'm guessing, will not be back. I'm assuming that Duclair will be traded, barring a change at coach, which if it happens, then maybe Duclair gets a second shot at this. But if with Patrick Waz in charge, I don't think he's going to be around. Maybe Shabanov is going to be an RFA. Maybe he goes back to Russia. Who knows? Tony DeAngelo is sort of 50-50, I think. He's played fine, but they have guys like George and Warren that are kind of, they got to sink or swim at some point. And so they got to give those guys a chance. So I don't know if he'll be around. I know they play on the wrong side, but you get what I'm saying. So the plan is clear. It might not work. Again, they might miss the playoffs this year, in which case a big portion of the fan base is going to be like, well, this plan sucks, and maybe it does suck. We don't know, but you can't say they don't have a plan. They have a plan. That's the plan, is to win, try and win with these guys over the next 2 or 3 seasons. And then when they age out, when they're UFAs, when they leave or retire or whatever, you have another wave of guys coming in that have had time to mature and develop in the minors or wherever, and they can take over. So that's the plan. I don't know if it's going to work, but please don't say they don't have a plan, because they definitely do have one. But yeah, it's better than, just be the Bruins,
right?
Which is like, again, not really working. So yeah, I just want to get that out there, because I've seen it a lot of places. I've seen a lot of people have been like, I don't get it. I get it. I don't know if it's going to work, but I get it. So
Right.
I want everybody to kind of get it, even though you don't like it. In the words of Randy Macho Man Savage, you might not like it, but accept it. And hopefully, in 2 years, they have a team full of guys between the ages of 21 and 24. Final thing I wanted to bring up is you mentioned LA. Mike Fuda used to work for LA. Obviously, we talked about the Kings before. I forgot to mention this then. Shout out Anze Kopitar. Great career. Loved seeing the handshake line. Huge respect to him. What a player. Just, you see the respect those guys. Even Schaefer's like 2 games against this guy is like getting the talk. I'm sure Anze's saying some cool things about him. Inarguably the greatest career LA King of all time. His number will be up at crypto.com arena or whatever it'll be called, in the future. But what a great player. And I love seeing that stuff. I know they did it with Ovechkin. Who else did they do it with?
Matt Martin got it.
Oh yeah, Matt Martin got it from the Caps and I think the Blue Jackets too. So I don't know. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
I mean, look, this is the we're talking culture, right? Like,
right.
I think the Islanders' reputation amongst the actual like stakeholders is that they're the type of team that does this because they've got such a good culture. I mean, I remember Brady Tkachuk talking about it when they had that injury. I can't remember if it was Nick Jensen? I think somebody got hurt in an Islander game, like a weird collision with Clutterbuck, and basically all the Islanders like came and checked on him after the game, and Tkachuk was like, yeah, like I'm not surprised, like that's just how like that room runs. And of course we love to bring up the Paul Maurice thing when Dmitry Kulakov had his 1000th game, and he like stopped his press conference to be like, before we get into it, like I just want to say like that's such a classy move. And the Islanders.
I remember when the Islanders beat the Panthers and Jack Capuano like started his press conference. Before I say anything, just he gave like respect to the Panthers. They were coached by Gerard Gallant back then. He's like Turk and the Panthers. They played a great series, blah, blah, blah. So this is a thing. I mean, I feel like this is why I love having Anders Lee around, because I just assume this is all his doing.
The kind of back and forth between them and the Canadiens, like welcome Islanders, like always a pleasure. the weirdest thing in
we'll
sport.
Get some more of that this weekend.
But so like that stuff doesn't surprise me. I'm glad it's carried over from regime to regime. Because I think it's good for just I think one of the most important things and one of the luckiest things that the Islanders have had was that Matthew Schaefer walked into a locker room like that, rather than one like what the Blackhawks were doing when Connor Bedard came through and stuff like that, because I think it really matters quite a bit. And it showed him like, hey, like I'm an 18-year-old, I'm a goofball, but I'm also in the NHL playing for this team. Then I need to know what that means. So it was great. And like the Kings have dominated us for a while, but Kopitar has just always been I think he's just a type of guy that everyone in the league kind of likes, and it's not like the Sidney Crosby thing where it's like a media fetish. It's basically everybody, right? Like it's just maybe Ducks fans. I shouldn't say that, right? Ducks fans and Sharks fans and whatever. But
but there's no way they hear about Kopitar to the same degree that we hear about Crosby.
Yes, that's a great point. He's good. Good innings, as they'd say in cricket, to Anze Kopitar. But and on your point about the plan and like the Islanders too, like and I think that it's as you said, like it's kind of plain to see like this is what it is, right? Like they're trying to be competitive in this year. I've got no idea like how they improve on this season for next, like immediately, just because of all the things that have gone right for them, like 10-0 in overtime and the Vezina caliber goalie, the Schaefer situation, Pelech being healthy, Barzal and Horvat being awesome. And that's why I think just at the same time of being like, yeah, like I don't want them to just like start throwing prospects at teams for Jordan Kyrou types or whatever, willy nilly. I really wish they did do one or two more things, not just at the deadline, just throughout the season to bolster their ranks. And part of it maybe is like they lost Kyle Palmieri and that sucked because boy, Kyle Palmieri would be a huge help on for this team. But I do have like there's just part of me. It does feel like the season is leading to some sort of twist and turn at the end that we're just not going to see coming. And it could just be that the Islanders missed the playoffs or whatever. And I really wonder if 3 or 4 years from now we're going to recognize like if they do that, like man, have they just found someone who can score a little bit better than Andre Palat? You know, maybe like because like 2 months from now we could be looking at a team like the Senators or the Sabres or Canadiens or someone in the Eastern Conference Final being like, fucking, we're better than them. Like, you know, like, you know, and that's, that's what's been keeping me up at night. But at the same time, you know, they are where they are and that's great. And it's been to this point, like just a fun season and we'll see if it remains a fun season in a couple of weeks. But it's hard. It's just been a hard one to like figure out how we're supposed to react, like how I'm supposed to feel about it, just because so much has gone right, and at the same time there's been so much weird shit that's happened, and they after all of this, like it just could feel like and I don't mean this like it's obviously not a waste of time because of the way like the Schaefer situation, but like it could just feel like, boy, I just sat through all of that to watch the Islanders miss the playoffs by 2 points. So that sucks.
Right.
You know,
right.
And it's really frustrating to know that possibility still exists. I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's the likeliest outcome, but the fact that possibility still exists is it's so frustrating because I thought, you know, if you're playing at 100-point pace at game 67, you probably should be pretty comfortably in the playoffs, and you would be in most seasons, but this one is just played out so weird that you're not. So
right, which again is why I feel like people don't see the plan, but I mean there is one, and Matthew Darche has been pretty open about what it is.
It's just
but it might not work. It might not work like literally a month from now. It might be clearly not working. In which case, you know, maybe
I'll tell you what part of the plan is too is to get the Islanders on these LED billboard trucks.
Yes,
which was I landed from Florida. I went to go pick up Isla at my parents' house in Rockville Center, and as soon as we pulled the car over and I got out of the car, there was an Islanders box truck with an LED screen. The tide is rising. Sign up for your season tickets. 20 like lock in playoff priority. I was like, what on earth is that? Like that felt like a Charles Wang move, which I appreciate. You know, like that's how the Islanders are supposed to be. Like they're supposed to be a box truck driving by you on the Meadowbrook Parkway. Not a pop-up shop. I love the pop-up shop. The Isles Lab pop-up shop at the home of the Islanders.
Belmont Village now has an Islanders shop.
A pop-up
go
one.
Figure. Pop-up one, yeah. But
come buy Islanders stuff at the home of the Islanders. Just for 2 days, though. Just for 2 days.
Just for 2 days. Oh, and everything costs $1,100. That's the other thing too. Very quickly though, you mentioned there could be a twist coming this season, and I think I have an idea of what the twist might be because I completely forgot about the existence of Kyle Palmieri, who again is part of that 30+ crowd with the season left. But we're starting to get updates on Alex Romanov, which I didn't expect to get this season. So again, if they make the playoffs, do we get like an Alex Romanov appearance in game one, and all of a sudden the third pair is Romanov and Mayfield, and it's either like, holy shit, that's great, or oh my god, what a disaster that was. So we can see, but I do find it funny that we're starting to get updates on Alex Romanov.
Or maybe it'll be Pierre Engvall. Let's get Engvall in.
Yeah,
come on, Pierre. We could use you.
We'll
game
see.
one.
Right. I completely forgot. I can't believe I completely forgot about Palmieri and Romanov. That's bad. on my part. But we've had a lot going on. Like I said, we've talked for an hour and a half now about things that just happened this week and could be happening next week. So we will be back again next Monday night because the Islanders Blue Jackets game is at 7. So we won't be recording after the game. We'll be recording on Monday night. If something crazy happens, maybe we could jump on and do an emergency podcast, but we'll wait and see. But otherwise, the plan is to record Monday night, and the episode will come out on Tuesday, just before the Islanders play the Blue Jackets. So in the meantime, hope you've enjoyed this. Become a member at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety for commercial-free episodes, bonus shows, written posts, chats. You could join for free to get our weekly release calendar or try a 7-day trial of our Country Club tier. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please leave us a review where you can. Shop at VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. The fine folks at Foco.com. Check out their t-shirt sale. Buy 2, get 1 free. Use the code Anxiety2 FOR1. So the number 2 FOR1, Anxiety 2 for 1 to get 1 free t-shirt after you buy 2. Foco.com. Mike, any final thoughts on your triumphant return to Islanders Anxiety and the wild week that was and the potentially wilder week coming up?
I'm gonna say 2 things real quick. One, my prediction is this week will be Shen week. I just feel like he'll do something big. And I'm looking at Foco.com right now to see their t-shirts, and they have one that just says Uncle, number 1 Uncle with an Islanders logo on it. We just got to buy those for the entire team. You know how when the MLB playoffs come around and all the teams wear like the same playoffs shirt with like the same catchphrase on it. So they like Yankees own October, and then they're playing the Red Sox and it says Red Sox rock October or whatever. It's all the same. The Islanders version of that should just be these Uncle shirts that just say Uncle.
You know, I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. Because it's like they have like number 1 mom, world's greatest dad, that kind of thing.
All the uncles can get one. Well, hopefully they have cool cousin, number 1 cool cousin for Barzal. So
they might. If they don't, they should make one. But if the Islanders do want to do that, now is the time. Buy 2, get 1 free. use the code Anxiety241 to get those shirts, and that would be so. If the Islanders did that, we would instantaneously be joined into Foco's Hall of Fame. This is actually one of the better promotions we've had with them. So check it out. And there's a ton of shirts there. It doesn't have to be Islanders. They have every team under the sun. So check it out. Use the code. Make us look better in their eyes, and maybe we'll get some better codes later on in the seasons ahead. But we will talk to you guys next week after whatever happens this week, and hopefully it's still good news, and the Islanders maybe are even in better position than they are now with a win over the team right behind them in Columbus. All right, talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.